Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy, powered by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kay Royal and Paul Breitbart.
On May 11th, Vermont's legislature passed the Vermont Data Privacy Act. This took several people by surprise. It wasn't high on our radar, but we weren't sure whether the governor was going to sign it or not. And lo and behold, on June 12th, the governor vetoed the bill. There was a tremendous effort to override the veto. It overrode in the legislature by a huge margin, but it failed in the Senate. Now, the governor's reasons for vetoing the bill included a lot of reasons, none of which were related to actually protecting the data of Vermont consumers. So today we have brought on Representative Monique Priestley to discuss what was behind the bill, what motivated, what's going to happen now. So, Paul?
My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy.
So with us today is Representative Monique Priestley of the Vermont State House, and we'll talk about the Vermont legislation. But before we do that, Kay, any unexpected questions today?
Yes, here's an unexpected question. What is your DJ name?
I'm going to need you guys to come up with one for me.
I don't even know where I would start. Superfly Privacy?
There we go.
Paul?
I have absolutely no idea. So probably, I mean, there's quite a few DJ polls out there already, so maybe I just do that and try to lift on their bandwagon. Like I just found out, there is a namesake of me based in Berlin who is also doing privacy. So we are starting to get mixed up as well. That's also very interesting.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. There is no other Paul Breitbart. Sorry.
I'll tell him. What would be your DJ name?
What is a DJ name? Funky K? Cage's K? I don't know. Maleficent K? Special K, which is not a really good one to go with.
That's risky.
Right?
There might be a copyright issue there.
There could be. There could be. I bet I was special
Also,
long before they were.
Maybe a prison charge.
But I must say, Rep Priestley does have a nice music vibe to it as well, right? If you write it slightly differently, then suddenly you can all go into music business.
I love it. I love it. But anyway, sorry about that. Apparently, Paul and I, our unexpected questions take us unexpected at times, too.
It's all good.
Sometimes I'll put some editing or judgment over them, like, oh, no, we're not asking this question. And then sometimes it's just a free-for-all. There we go. So let's tie into it then, because thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. I was a very strong proponent of trying to get people to support and override the veto. Very much look forward to Vermont's passing. Really took me by surprise when he didn't. I mean, I know he didn't come out and say he supported it from the beginning, the way that we hear a lot of governors say they do. I really didn't think with such an overwhelming show of support that he would have vetoed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, from what I've heard from advocates, he's the first governor who's vetoed a privacy bill, consumer protection privacy bill, that has passed both chambers. So that is disappointing. Yeah. And I think we were kind of like 50-50 that he would either veto it or he would let it pass without his signature. We didn't think he would fully, which is fine. But I mean, his staff claims that he got 200 letters from small businesses, quote unquote small businesses, at the last second, like in the last hours. And so, I mean, that's a lesson learned for next time.
It really freaked him out that he was afraid he was going to do something bad.
And who knows? Who knows if that like, I don't know. That's what we're hearing anyways. That's what we heard from his
Yeah.
dad. So, I mean, I think, I don't know. It feels like he was most likely just like the small business kind of like trade associations and stuff, getting talking points from big tech
Yeah.
lobbyists and just regurgitating those and not knowing any better and just listening to them to say that they're experts. And so that just feels weak to me. But
It does. And what is your feel on if this had passed the way it was, would have it had a detrimental effect on small businesses in Vermont?
no, I mean, there's no way. And mostly because we, like, in the final, days, like, we, as far as the PRA being the private right of action being so scary, quote unquote, from the business community and who is speaking on their behalf, we sized that to be data brokers and businesses that were handling the data of 100,000 Vermonters or more per year, which is just not our small businesses. It's just not. In Vermont, like, if you look at California, and that was some of the talking points they got.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. The only businesses it should be affecting would be those who are doing anything illegal, right? I mean, those are the only ones that should be scared.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So the private right of action was applying to only data brokers and large data holders, and then only if they were, mishandling sensitive information.
And based on experiences in Europe, where we also have a few small businesses across the European Union with GDPR, that has not been a problem. I mean, there is a private right of action. There is even a collective right of action under the GDPR, but the only ways where this is used so far is against big tech, big corporations for the
Right.
class actions. And yes, I'm sure there have been a few cases against smaller organizations, but most of those actually have been as a result of government enforcement and not because of the private right of action. Because for most people, going to court is just a very big step. And I know that step
Totally.
is
Yeah.
slightly lower in the US, or at least that is the European perspective. The US, everybody sues everybody all of the time, which I also don't believe to be true. But it still is a big step to go to court.
Not far from the truth.
Yeah.
It would be a step, right? For someone to take a company to court for this, they would usually have to feel like the company did something wrong, and then they'd have to ground it in law to do so.
Right. And then you get into like the claim was that it was specifically going to be a bunch of frivolous lawsuits. And that, I mean, that only needed to be like a conversation with the governor to clarify that, like, a small business, somebody's not going to flood a mom and pop shop with frivolous lawsuits to their,
Right.
like, the handling of their email newsletter information or something. It's going to be like automated things to the data brokers. And no matter what law we have, nothing is going to stop automated threats to data brokers.
Right.
No.
Yeah. But it could give guardrails for whether or not they actually can go to court.
Right. And I took from his language that he didn't want Vermont to be an outlier. And I'm like, being an outlier is not a bad thing. I mean, Vermont was
Right.
an outlier when it passed its first law against data brokers.
Yeah. And we're an outlier in all kinds of things. I mean, like, when I first got in, I was like so surprised at a lot of the like social, just like shield policies we were working on, because the federal government was doing a lot of things that we didn't want to be in line with around like abortion access and things like that, and gender
Right.
affirming care access. So
Mhm.
like, we do go stronger in areas when it comes to social protections. And so this is a social protection.
Right.
So, Monique, can you take us a few steps back? Because where did the Vermont bill actually come from? How did it get started? Because for me, at least, the fact that there was suddenly a bill that was approved by both houses also came as a bit of a surprise. You were not very high on our radar.
Yeah, I don't think we weren't even on the radar of our own governor, who told our AG that, like, they didn't expect us to make it out of committee. So they weren't watching either. So, yeah. So this was my first term. So last year, the AG's office submitted kind of what ended up being, unfortunately, called a Frankenstein bill, which was like a copy and paste of a lot of different, like Delaware and some California and some GDPR, and just like, it ended up being there was a lot of conflicts throughout the version. So we did our best to take testimony, but then at the end, we're like, we have to start all over again, and we have to do something as a full starting point that isn't a lot of copy and paste. And so the committee wanted to do, and myself wanted to do, we had the option of California, Connecticut, or Virginia. And
Okay.
you will appreciate that.
Yep.
And so a lot of us wanted to do California. Our chair wanted to do Connecticut, and luckily no one wanted to do Virginia. So I mean, I was not comfortable with that. And so, but also like coming in with a tech background, I also saw that there was like some super just basic barriers that our committee members would need to kind of like get over as far as like basic level understanding.
Right.
And so I wanted to help with that. So I reached out on LinkedIn to Senator James Maroney and just said, like, can you help me feel more comfortable with using your bill so SB6, their Connecticut Data Privacy Act, plus like SB3 and SB6, so the consumer health and youth protections, and just said, can you help me feel more comfortable? What did you try to do that you couldn't do? Basically, like, was this your dream version of this bill or not? And then if not, why not? And then so he walked me through that, and then he also introduced me to a bunch of people in the privacy sphere from all sides of the spectrum that really ended up being kind of the baseline for getting feedback and red lines and support and answers.
Nice. Very much a collaborative effort among the states.
Yes.
Paul and I have talked about before how it may not be official, but people who may be governed by this, companies who may be governed by this, need to understand that the states talk to each other. This isn't like each one of them's in a silo. It may be unofficial, but the people who are supporting privacy controls for companies very much talk to each other.
Or any bill, for that matter, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't actually, like, this actually felt somewhat new to like the Vermont legislature. Like, the more, like, there was this big, you saw it, kind of the media blow up of the other legislators that I brought into a committee hearing to get everybody on the record. And that blew up, and I was asking people, like, why is this such a big deal? Like, it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal. We're just having a conversation. But I think in generally, like, the response I got was, legislators don't want to hear on public how they should be. They don't want to be told how to do the things, which is just crazy to me. So, and I'm coming to this role with, my whole life of community engagement and activism. So I always want to be collaborative and facilitate that. So that's been weird and nice. Like, I think we will continue. I'm certainly going to continue doing that.
Well, I think that's a great perspective to take. And I've wanted to get into politics myself for a long time. I don't see it happening now that I'm a Democrat in South Carolina. But I'm waking up to that reality. But we're not going to talk politics. We're not talking politics. We're not talking politics. But one thing that I've always been told is you have to be careful that politics will change you. And I do believe that there are people out there that politics will not change. It depends on the perspective that you start with. And you sound like someone who coming from a activist background. You have your passions in your heart perhaps already set on a route that maybe someone's not going to get you off of that.
Okay, but you make it sound like change as a politician is always a bad thing.
Well,
people can also change for the better.
Okay. They could change for the better, although you don't hear about that happening.
No, I mean, I would agree with both of you. Like, and I actually think about this a lot because I did not want to run for office. I didn't think that politicians could have integrity. I wasn't into it. I was doing a lot of just community volunteering, and I turned a department store into a community center, and I was asked, so my rep ran for Secretary of State, and she said I needed to run so she could run. And so I
setting up her succession plan. I like it.
Yeah. And that was fine. Like, I'd been interested maybe. And so coming into the role, I was hypersensitive about, and actually I'm thankful for this bill because I feel like I was hypersensitive to, I don't want to lose my empathy. I don't want to have I don't have to lose my integrity. Those are big things for me. And so this bill pushed me mentally, psychologically to like my limit.
Confront your demons.
Yeah, it definitely did. And by the end, there was so much there was both a spectrum of like beautiful stuff that happened, beautiful connections, but also like really gross behavior that is not acceptable and ethical lines are crossed. And I never crossed those lines. And I
Good.
I was thankful for that I was like tested there. And so whether or not I'm coming from like an advocacy perspective, like I do think along the way, my opinions on things changed all the time, like constantly, but I was constantly learning. And I think that's okay. But my values have not changed. So like my core value of having an integrity and serving people,
I
that's my
like
like
that
guiding
very
principle.
much. As Paul says, politicians can change for the better. And I think that very, as much as I may laugh, I think that very much is true in their education. They start learning there's a much bigger world out there than perhaps that they had ever worked in before, and a lot more considerations to take into account, a lot more balancing to do.
And you learn to listen differently.
Definitely.
Different from the US system. We have many more parties. It's much more, it's a list system, it's proportional representation, it's 4 years, 1 day a week. So in all of that, it's different from what Monique has been doing, but working for the good of, in my case, my province, and trying to achieve even some small things, that is something that makes you realize, how difficult it is to get things changed in a country, to get the wheels in motion, and how long it can take. But it forces you to listen to all the different opinions before you make your decision, instead of making up your mind just on the basis of what you read in the documents or read in the newspaper.
Well, it forces you to do that if you have that as a priority of working for the people.
Well, yes, but I think that should be, I know it's not true for every politician, but that should be the reason why you are into
Right.
politics. That's why you want to be in
Yeah.
politics.
I mean, I will say that, so all of that, like, I think it was really interesting for me, and this is feedback I've gotten from a lot of other legislators and leadership, but also lobbyists, is that they weren't used to be, like, basically we like funneled everybody through me. So whether it's advocates and on the pro or against side and lobbyists and the public or businesses or whatever, we like funneled them through me. I would sit down and like, I was willing to have a conversation with anybody. So
Wow.
I sat down with everybody's clients, and I wanted to, and I was able to like not only hear where we needed to maybe adjust things, but I was also able to like hear the arguments so I could counter them. So that was a valuable thing.
Right. Learning.
Yeah. A lot of people actually in the building will not talk to lobbyists, which is
Yeah.
fascinating. But so, and actually that my willingness to listen actually created this like weird thing between the lobbyists themselves. We're like respecting the process, which is fascinating.
Interesting.
But when it got to the Senate, I feel like they largely didn't listen to people. They really were listening to lobbyists in their ear, and that was unfortunate. So I do think there was a shift there that I think conversations got shut down.
Where do you go from here?
I'm running it again, running it all over again.
Do you have time the rest of this season to get the work started?
Yeah, I mean, so the session, like, we're not in session, we're not getting paid, you know, once we're not in Montpelier, but I haven't stopped. So at this point, it's like really trying to build an advocacy and like public engagement strategy around getting the public to understand why this is important, because in a lot of cases, I don't think they realize that they are being harmed and that there is a problem.
Right. They don't know.
No. And the small businesses. So I teach small business funding classes and marketing classes, which was one of the hilarious things of not listening to businesses. I spend most of my real job facilitating business supports. But so I want to basically run workshops with the help of advocates and things and lawyers to train people on how to like meet the requirements of the bill without being required to by law. So they can see like, oh, it's not actually that scary. And it's actually great
Nice.
for telling my customers that I am responsible with their data.
So when does session start again? January 1st?
Yeah, and I have to be elected again. So the summer's
Oh,
campaign.
wow. Okay, because you took a seat. Do you think this is going to impact your election?
I'm super curious. I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Like, I need to humanize it for the public, and I'm trying to think of ways to do that. I heard that there was like some calls with big tech trying to figure out how to get me out of my seat. So I don't know if that'll happen. But yeah, who knows?
Interesting. Well, if I can come to Vermont and help, you just let me know. I hear Vermont in the fall is a gorgeous place to be, and I'm not
Awesome.
that far away. So
Awesome.
Well, we
Love
could
that.
do some recordings from the community center, right, Kate?
Yeah, I actually have a podcast recording studio.
there we go. Which is better than my setup right now. As our listeners know, I am temporarily cohabiting with my daughter and the 3 or 4 kids and the 4 dogs and the 6 cats and the chickens, which we now have a rooster again, by the way, y'all. So yeah, while my house is being built next door. So I'll volunteer to go anyway.
Oh wow. Perfect.
So Monique, if you reintroduce the bill, because I that's probably your plan, right? Is there anything that you would change? Or do you want to try again and just try to convince the governor, hey, this is a foolish thing you've done in vetoing because there was absolutely no reason to do it. So here is the same text again.
I don't think it'll be exactly the same text. I think it'll be largely the same text. There are definitely areas where, in some cases we dropped on purpose during negotiations around the private right of action. In some cases we accidentally lost because of confusion with the lawyer. So we want to make sure that we actually ended up with where we wanted to be there.
Damn those lawyers.
No. Our legislative counsel was amazing and worked like crazy with me. Like, anyways, yeah, there was whole days we spent towards the end on this bill.
Well, the governor's up for re-election too, right?
He is, yeah. Yep.
So that might also bring some change. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. He's popular and not challenged very hard. So,
and what are other things that you would wish to achieve when it comes to digital bills in Vermont?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just haven't been working on them, and so the public isn't prepared for them, and they don't realize the importance, and nobody's really talked to them about it. And the same goes for legislators in the building. I feel like I think there's some like just grounds basics to work through, and so I'm kind of excited about that and creating resources for people. But yeah, I think we have to just have more conversations because I don't think that's happened in the past.
Well, and that's one of the issues that we have on the national basis as well. You spend years educating someone and then they're replaced. When they have more priorities when someone comes new into the office than learning about privacy. So it's a constant round of education. And I mean, even for a regular basis, working in a regular company, and Paul and I both are with companies. Whether you're talking about the population or you're talking about just the people you work with, you've got to say it 100 different times in 50 different ways before it finally hits and resonates with someone what it actually is that you're trying to tell them. And funny enough, when something bad does happen with their data, people are generally shocked that a company had information on them, So it's massive. It's absolutely massive educational undertaking. So I wish you the best. Absolutely the best with that. And I was only half kidding. If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate. Or, I mean, you've got a bigger network than I am, I'm sure, but I'm absolutely willing to put out the call to see if there's anyone that'd be willing or has any resources that they can push towards the issue.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. And the whole privacy community in general has been awesome in reaching out. And actually, I would just, on this, encourage people to reach out on LinkedIn, or I created a website, letsdopolicy.com.
I like
so people
it.
could reach out with support. So
very good.
I
have one final question before we let you go, and that is, apart from the private right of action, what is your favorite part of the bill?
Ooh,
you have to put her on the spot.
No, it's fine. I think it's the data minimization piece. I think the whole time we were trying to figure out where to go there, and I don't think we're fully there. But that piece, I was excited about the thought process of what are we about the minimization piece in general of what are we trying to minimize? How might we do it? What are the mechanisms to do it? And so that whole piece I was really excited about. And I feel like that's evolving at all levels in different states and the federal government, proposals. And so that's a piece I want to keep checking in on for sure.
Yeah, trying to get companies to get rid of data is like a miracle times 10.
and only collect what they need. I think that's the biggest thing I learned and took away from that is like they don't. And even I collect a lot of data for my nonprofit. I think I limit it to what I need for like grant applications, for federal grant applications and things. But I could probably cut down on what I'm asking people for.
And what you don't have, you cannot lose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was there anything that we invited you when you came on today that you wanted to make sure you covered that we haven't given you an opportunity to share?
No, I think this has been great. Thank
Okay.
you for having me.
Very good. So we wish you all the best for the election campaign, and especially, of course, for November. And then we'll keep that eye out for the new season in Vermont and hope that the bill will pass. Serious Privacy will be rooting for you. So
Yes.
not sure what Kay will be able to do in terms of stickers, but we think of something. And on that note, we'll wrap up another episode of Serious Privacy. So thank you to our listeners for joining us again. Join the conversation on LinkedIn. You'll find us there under Serious Privacy. You'll find Kay on social media as Heart of Privacy and myself as Europol B. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.